Hi folks, I'm going to show you how to run DCS Dedicated Server in the cloud using Amazon Web Services, AWS. Why run on AWS? Well, it's a way to get your server into a data center, giving it a stable and low latency connection to the internet. And you only need to commit to AWS an hour at a time. So if you're only looking to use just a few hours, it can be low cost. Or alternatively, it can make very high performance accessible. Before I get into the details, I'm just going to plug my own service for automating this process, ready-room.net. Upload your mission, give it 10 minutes, and you're good to go. Okay, so what you'll need is an AWS account with your credit card details. I estimate in this example that we're about to do, it will cost about 50 US cents. But just a quick public service announcement, if you make any mistakes, it's very easy to spend a lot more than you intended to in AWS. Now, the most significant cost is the Elastic Compute Cloud, EC2 instance. This is the remote computer we'll be running DCS on. DCS is sensitive to disk performance, so it's important to choose an instance with a local solid-state disk. The other type of storage available in AWS is Elastic Block Storage, EBS. Elastic Block Storage is a type of network storage, so it's not going to be able to compete with the performance of a local SSD that's physically attached. So for the Sydney region, Windows OS sorting by price, I've chosen the i3 Large as the cheapest instance with an SSD. It's got an on-demand rate of 28 US cents an hour. It's possible to pay a lower floating spot price in exchange for potentially having your instance terminated early by Amazon, though I'd recommend opting for the spot price as I haven't had any instances terminated in my experience. After the instance, the next most significant cost will be data transfer. Data transfer in isn't charged, but data out is about 10 cents a gigabyte. In this exercise, our data out is going to be much less than a gigabyte, but it's worth keeping in mind that for a complex multiplayer mission with a lot of players connected, we could end up sending out a few gigabytes over the course of a few hours. There's a negligible fee for the IP address as well as the EBS disk that will be used for the C drive. EBS is about 10 cents per gigabyte per month. Standard disk size is 30 gigs, so cost is going to be negligible for a couple of hours. Though if you were to keep the disk for a month, that would be about $3. Okay, let's go to the AWS console, to the EC2 service and launch an instance. We'll need the Windows Server OS image. Next we'll find the i3 Large type we settled on before. We'll opt in for the spot price and open the ports we need. We'll need the RDP port to be able to connect to our desktop, and 10308 TCP and UDP for DCS, and ports for any other services you'll run such as SRS, but we'll just stick to DCS for this video. Now AWS is prompting us to create a key pair to be able to access our instance. The AWS GUI does a pretty nice job of leading us through the steps here. I just accept the download it offers. Now we have our instance. It's enough now to just click connect, RDP for remote desktop, exchange the key pair for the password, and we can connect via remote desktop. The SSD comes uninitialized, so we'll need to format it. DCS sometimes makes use of the Windows temporary file system, and because by default it's on the C drive, which is in AWS's Elastic Block Store, it can become a bottleneck. So we'll create an alternate location on the SSD and update the environment variables. Later we'll have a look at using Resource Manager to help identify similar performance bottlenecks. DCS ports can be added to Windows Firewall, but I'm happy to just rely on the EC2 security we configured earlier and just turn off Windows Firewall. The server comes with Internet Explorer, but we'll need a modern browser like Chrome to be compatible with the DCS server dashboard. It's easiest to just cut and paste an installer downloaded ahead of time. At this point, it's just a matter of installing DCS Dedicated Server. We used an instance with a local SSD to accommodate DCS's sensitivity to disk performance. I'll just point out that this comes with the trade-off that the lifetime of the disks the lifetime of the SSD disks are attached to the instance. So once it's terminated, we'll need to go through the process of reinstalling DCS again the next time we start a new instance. ReadyRoom gets around this by staging the uncompressed files in S3 to reduce the installation time. Once it's up and running, we can put our mission in the saved games directory and run it from the DCS server dashboard. Now that our mission is up and running, we can have a look at monitoring performance. In Windows, we have Resource Monitor. This shows us CPU, memory, network I/O, and disk I/O. In the disk I/O section, we can see which files DCS is accessing. If we find we're having a poor experience in DCS, then it's a good idea to check for any resource issues in Resource Monitor. The poor performance is correlated with a lot of disk activity on the EBS disk, i.e. C drive. We can look into moving that activity onto the SSD. If we're finding we're making use of all of the available CPU memory or network, then we can consider a more expensive instance, or alternatively, we can look at the design of our mission as a way of reducing the resources we need. Once we're done, we can terminate our instance. So I think I had my instance running for about 2 hours at a spot price of about 20 cents an hour. So it's probably about 50 cents with the other things AWS will charge for. I think I'll need to wait for the bill for the final price. So there you have it, DCS Dedicated Server in AWS.